Good day, everyone. So, no word of a lie, it's a dark and stormy night, but here we are. What better time than to replace the brake pads on this 2003 Dodge Dakota? And you know what? They're pretty much all the same. It doesn't even matter what vehicle. It's pretty much the same process. So we're only going to do the pads today, hopefully. And it's pretty easy to do. So stick around. I'll show you the steps. So the first thing we need to do, just loosen your lug nuts. It's on the ground right now. It's not jacked up. So let's go around, give these a little loosen. On my truck, these are 19 mil, but they might be different on yours. It just depends. Before we loosen those anymore, we need to jack the truck up. There's a nice spot behind on the frame here on these trucks. I have my jack in place. So let's get her up. So I'm up in Canada, remember, and everything's going to be rusty. And I noticed there's some issues with my brakes. And it's all due to corrosion, and we'll investigate that. Before I stick my head under here, I have a jack stand. Just gonna throw it, hopefully you can see it here. I'm gonna throw it underneath, just in case that my hydraulic jack lets loose or something, because I'm gonna be under here. But one thing I want you to notice is just look at the amount of corrosion on these vehicles up here. That's just due to salt and stuff. They just don't last up here, and especially with your brakes, it corrodes everything, messes everything up. All the lubrication gets destroyed. And this rotor is not wearing properly. If the rotor's actually in good shape, this is really a surface rust. There's a slight bit of groove in here, so these ones I should be able to, the back is good too. So I'm gonna reuse these, but normally when you do, if you have any big grooves or stuff, you need to replace these rotors. I did a video doing the back ones on this truck, so maybe look that up, or maybe I'll put a link. I'll put a link in the description where to find that video of how to do the rotors too. But anyways, the first thing we need to do, get these brake pads out, which just involves taking off this piece here. There's two nuts on there, or two bolts. Those ones are 14 mil. So let's see if we can, there's one up here. There we go. There, it can be a little bit tight, but anyways, she's off, or loose anyway. There's another one down here. Okay, so those are loose. They might turn out. Yep. Just gonna put my two bolts up there. Now this will pop out, and usually it's not gonna come out nicely either. It's actually coming out, but it's kind of jammed up. Let me grab something. So when you take this off, you want to hang on to it. You don't want it to drop down because it's hooked up to a brake line. You could damage it. So now that I have it loose, I should be able to just be able to pry this off. There we go. I think it's off. The amount of corrosion is quite amazing. Oh, there we go. Okay, so if you can't find a spot to set it where it's not going to fall, you could use a piece of wire, hook it up there, but I think she's going to stay right there, so that's good. All right, so here's your the pads that we're going to replace. Let's get those out. Oh, that one just came right out. So it's funny because the outer one Has almost no wear on it. It's good, actually. Like, this is probably a reusable, almost a reusable pad. The inner one, now this is going to be a different story. This one, she's almost done, so that's not good. And you're like, well, why did one wear so different than the other one? We'll get into that in a second. One thing, there's these pins here. So these are like the slider pins, I guess you would call them. I might be doing the wrong name, but they actually feel really good. Normally you can just pull these out and you can lube them up with grease, which you probably should do normally, but these ones are feeling so good because I'm sure I did these brakes a while back and they're sealed, so I'm not going to mess with those, but you can just pull them out. Sometimes you might need to get new ones, but they're fine as far as I'm concerned. And I'm just feeling the back here on the rotor. So this is the rotor, of course. Like this thing this rotor is almost basically brand new. I don't drive the truck a lot, so that didn't help anything either. And the reason that those pads were so unevenly, I'm going to pop these out and we'll look at these. These are called slide rails here. And I'm just looking. This one, so this is, that was the outer. So this is the outer one that has the pad with almost no wear. As you can see, there's not even there's a shiny mark there, but that's it. They never moved. They're just sitting there. So they were basically, in my mind, they were seized up. They weren't sliding on here as they should. Let me just show you. Because basically this sits in here and it should slide back and forth. To me, these were never moving. They just sat there. So let's get the other one out. What you need to do is, especially here, I mean, if they're all rusty, you need to get a screwdriver or whatever you can fit in here nicely, and you need to take the time and get all of this corrosion out of here, because the new little bracket or the new little piece that fits in there, it can't be sitting on a bunch of garbage. So take your time. Get all the rust off, top and bottom and sides. So you have to do it in here, on the other side, then come up here and do these two. It's like being at the dentist, cleaning the plaque. Okay, here's the new pieces that the actual brake pads fit into. So they should just, blades down there, it should just snap into place. It should, in theory, stay there. Okay, so that seems like that one's good. Happy about that. And then this one, now if they're not going into place properly, that probably means, like this one feels a little bit goofy. I need to do a little bit more cleaning back here. Okay, that one seems to be okay now too. All right, next step. So I found this stuff here. This is pretty much it's made for brakes. It's I don't know, it just works really great. So it's a silicone ceramic easy slide. These are the people that make it here. And what you need to do because the pads, they're going to be sliding on here. So you need to put a little bit of stuff, a little bit of lube on here. Don't get it on your rotor once again. So we'll go there. Get the back side. And the tops. There we go. Okay, so we have the brake pads. Now they essentially look exactly the same. There's this one here though, it's a little bit different. It has this little thing that sticks out. And then if you look on this side, there's a little thing here. That's called a little scratcher. So in theory, when this brake pad wears down, this is going to scratch against the rotor and make the noise. So sometimes that might be, you know, why you might hear your brakes making noise, because they might be worn out, and this is scratching against the rotor. So let's go ahead and try to get this to fit in. All right, try to get the back in first. Okay, actually that one went in. And you have to be really careful because you don't want it to pop out. Once you get it in, don't pop it out. But it feels... Let me just... So that's sliding. And that's moving, so it is sliding, so that's good. We'll leave it. And the other thing is, with these vehicles up here, they get so rusty. The other option is, if everything looks like you've done your best and you can't get this in, what you can do if you have a sander or a grinder, you can take off a little bit on the top edge of these notches just to shorten them up a little bit. I noticed in some cases the replacement ones are slightly longer than the original ones, which is a little bit disturbing because that's going to make it fit in there too tight and it won't slide. So you may have to grind those off a tiny bit. Okay, so I sanded a little bit off the edges, put a little bit more of that grease on there, and let's see if that did the trick. That's something a lot of people won't tell you or don't know that you can do. You shouldn't have to, as I said. This is like, we're dealing with a rusty situation here. I think it's going to be fine now. It actually, it's not a bad sign if it actually just popped out very easily like that. And even better if I can get this in without a lot of effort. Which, yeah, I think that's going to work fine. Now, let's get to the next, this is going to be your next challenge. This thing. I'm going to have to move my camera. Well, is it on camera? What we need to do, so these are the pistons for the caliper. Now, you need to compress these down, otherwise it won't fit on. It's used to sitting at a certain level, and now we put new pads in. Gonna be too fat. This won't fit on, so we need to press these down. So I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so this is the part that messes some people up because they get the pads on and then they go to put the caliper back on. These are the pistons here. Now they've learned to be where they are because of how the pads have been worn, so they're sticking out way too far. You can buy little fancy tools to do this and all that good stuff, but all I do, I take one of the old pads, set it there, and I have a little clamp here. So what I do, put the clamp here, hold that in place, and then start tightening this up. I know the lighting's probably not great, but so then I just start tightening. Maybe I'll get this over a bit. So I have a ways to go. You should be able to push them all the way. We should probably close most of this gap here. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so as you can see, I've pretty much completely closed that gap. So it's wider now. We'll be able to fit it over the new brake pads here. All right, so let's take off the clamp now. And they should stay in place. Okay, so this looks really good. And what you should do at this point, so on the pistons, you should put some lube on them. That way they won't get corroded to the pads. And they can sort of slide around a little bit. It's all good, good idea. And then also on the outer, these notches here, put a little bit of lube on those too. Alright, so we'll just slide this into place. It should fit over. Oh, these pins, make sure you push them in. I'll show you that again. Can you see that? Yeah. So make sure those are compressed in. Otherwise, you're not going to go on ever. And the bottom one too, make sure it's pushed in. Okay, so I was having some trouble getting these bolts in. And maybe it's because I'm tired or whatever. The whole issue was the rotor here. It wasn't pushed on nice and straight. So this thing was at an angle. So I think these should screw in now if I get them lined up. Well, I don't know. Well, that feels like it grabbed. Yeah, that one started. So yeah, the rotor was like at a bit of an angle, so it offset everything so the bolts would not go in. Silly. Spent 10 minutes trying to get these in, and well, that was the issue. I'm just going to test this top one. They should turn in very easy to begin with, so if they're not, then that means they're not going in straight. The bottom one, trying to get that one started. Alright, it's just being silly. I think I've been doing stuff too long today. It's gonna go in now. Yeah. Alright, now tighten this. Now, I don't know what the torque specs are for this, but all we're gonna do, don't do what I do, but what I'm doing. Since we're dealing with a small ratchet, and I've been doing this kind of stuff for a while nowadays, this one is just kind of snugged up, so you get a feel like I'm not like woo woo, I'm just like little jab. Go down to the bottom now. Same idea. So it's pretty tight, and then at that point, just put a little bit of weight in it. Tighten it up, it'll be fine. There we go. Okay. So I guess all we need to do, let's get the tire back on. So I'm gonna get the tire on. Once that's on, I'm gonna go for a little drive. I bet I'm gonna burn all this rust off here. There's a little shiny part here. This is why my brakes were not working that great, because it wasn't grabbing the whole section. But I bet after one drive, it's going to smoothen that right out if they're working properly now. Oh, do you guys like my tennis ball? I lost the center cap on my rim. Stuck a tennis ball in there. Pretty cool, eh? Okay, I'm going to gently tighten these. We're going to come back and torque all these to, it varies in the manual, check your own, it's between 90 to 120 foot-pounds, and then we'll go in a serious sequence to make sure everything's good, but let's get it, oh, I still have a jack stand under here. See, I almost forgot that. I'm losing my mind. There we go. Oopsie. And then for the tires, I do actually torque these ones because I don't want my tire falling off. And if it does fall off, I want to be able to say, hey, I put them on correctly, especially if someone gets hurt. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna go do a spinaroo. Then I'll get a flashlight. I'll show you how the brakes, if they're working. Should polish that up in a hurry. All right. Okay, did a short drive. Now, I mean, like a really short drive. And I'm not sure if you can see. Try to get this camera right. Now you can still see the corrosion line on there, but it's starting to polish it up nice. I mean, it's all the way down to the bottom of the brake drum. So yeah, once they get worn in a little bit, I think she's gonna. It was braking really well, way better than before. So yeah, keep it up. It's looking good. I'm pretty happy with that. All right, good luck everyone. Thank you. Please like, subscribe if you want. Bye-bye.